Today is the third study on the notion of deity, Buddhism, fact and fiction and fact. We are looking at the nature of views. And today we are looking at the two periods in the Buddha's ministry. This is just an idea which I came up with to understand the way the Buddha taught the Dharma and how the suttas were handed down to us. Of course, I may be wrong, I may be right in this, but this is from my understanding of the suttas that I've studied them for the last over 30 years to 40 years. When we look at the Buddha's teachings, we notice the early part, especially the first 10, 20 years, the Buddha tend to speak very freely, almost ad hominem, as we say. In other words, he would especially give certain teachings to certain people. He doesn't plan anything. He looks at you and then he will teach you. He looks at me, he will teach me something that I need, something that will change my life, change my outlook of life, change me personally, awaken me, become an arahant. And these were the first great months. So this I call the first period. Like I said, it's difficult to know this exact time. So we roughly kind of take it the first 10 years. That one we can be quite sure. And maybe you can extend it a bit to another 10 years, plus 20 years. And then the last 25 years, the Buddha is more open, more generous. He allows the monks to ordain anyone who qualifies, who's interested to become a monk or a nun, and to live the holy life. The Buddha was truly generous. He accepted anyone, whether they were honest in their applications or not. Of course, as the situation arose, complaints were made, even Jivaka came up with suggestions, the Buddha introduced rules. In other words, everyone got a chance, as long as they do not misuse this opportunity to reach heights of spirituality, they are welcome. So during the second period, the Buddha used more systematic kind of teaching, lots of stories, mythology, devas, demons, and so on. We find in the first period, no one needs to hear about devas and demons. All these great people like Sariputta, Moggallana, they were all like very ripe fruits. In Malaysia, we talk of durians. Durians are sharp, thorny fruits, which take 7 years to ripen, more or less. It's very interesting, a number 7 and 7 lifetimes over Australia. So after 7 years, this fruit tree will ripen with this delicious, nutritious fruit. And you cannot pluck these fruits, they have to draw by themselves. So these early candidates, the 5 monks, and all the other great monks, Buddha personally converted. They were ready, they were ripe, like durians. The moment the Buddha said something, they just dropped from the tree onto the ground of awakening. So these are the two periods we can more or less have a better understanding on the different teachings. If you look into some of the suttas, you actually can see some of this evidence of the first period and the second period. For example, if you look in the Sutta Nipata, especially, one of the 15 books in the 5th Nikaya, Sutta Nipata, collection of suttas, we find it contains some of the oldest texts that we know, oldest texts of the Buddha's teaching, and of course some of the very late ones. Some of the very popular chants also found there. But what is of importance are especially ancient texts, especially the last two texts, called the Attaka Vagga and the Parayana Vagga. It is found on page 17, section 8.1. we find this Attaka Vagga and Parayana Vagga so important that they're even mentioned by themselves separately as texts. So obviously at some point, early times of the Buddha's ministry, these two texts were already well known. And later they were compiled into sets, and then other suttas added on there, up to us more or less Asoka's time. Whether the monks and the editors kept on adding suttas in Sri Lanka, we do not know, but it's unlikely. So these two texts, the Attaka Vagga and the Parayana Vagga, they are very ancient texts. How do we know that? Number one, the grammar is really non-standard, as you say. The emphasis is on the teaching, not so much on the language, if you like. It's not to say the language is not beautiful, the language is beautiful. It's in Pali. But the teachings, the words are simple, but the teachings can be very profound. And they do not have any of those technical formulas, not even the Four Noble Truths, or the Four Paths, or the 12 links, or the 5 aggregates, or all those sets that we're so familiar with. You don't hear them, you don't see them. These sets seem to belong to the second period more or less. Let's look at an example of a sutta from this early period. A sutta from the Attaka Vagga. This is on page 18 of the SD 48.1 or just 40.1. Upayohi dhammesu rupeti vadam anupayang kena katang vadeya atang niratang nahi tassati ado siso diting idewa sabati. One engages in dispute about teaching. But how could one dispute with the disengaged? For there is neither taking up nor rejecting. He has taken off all views in this very world. Notice here the idea of no views. This is another characteristic of the first period. I call it the no view approach. In other words, what the Buddha does is he goes to these people who are waiting for Dharma by helping them to clear their minds of views. No thoughts, no worries, the mind is totally free. Imagine you suddenly don't have to think about anything. You feel really happy. To feel really happy, you have to stop thinking. Because thoughts get in the way of happiness. When you have to think, then the thoughts get diluted, so to speak. Of course, we can't help not thinking, unfortunately. That's called the world. The world, as the Sapa Sutta defines, are our senses. So once you get down to the senses, you have to respond to them. You think about them. They bring ideas, perceptions to the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and of course the mind. Whenever something from outside comes in, whether something, some object, sense object, stimulate the mind, those are called external objects. So even when the mind is concerned, the mind is stimulated by external objects within the mind. So here we see a very interesting understanding of the human mind. So when we meditate, we shut down the 5 senses as it were. They are like 5 noisy phones. We switch them on for a while. We just leave one on the mind, focus on the mind. So when we say no views, we are saying shut down all the 5 senses. We do not want to have any views through the 5 monitors called eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body. Because when you look through this eye monitor, ear monitor, nose monitor, you have to decide what to do. You have to at least think about these things. So you're not going to have any views about them. Just let go all of them. You just deal with the mind, so to speak, directly with the mind. So that's what's meant by the no views approach in this stage, in this early teaching and training. Now what's interesting in this verse, SN 787 by the way, if you look at line C, there's a third line, we have the word attang. Attang Nirattang. Here Attang, normally we think Atta means self, right? But here Atta doesn't mean self. Here Atta means what is grasped. What is taken hold of, ideas, views, opinions. And then Niratta, pushed away, this grasping and pushed away, rejected. So in other words, people take up ideas, they reject ideas, they argue. You can see that online. People are so sure of their ideas, they get so excited about their ideas, they get so upset when ideas are proven wrong or people disagree with them. And they're just words. They're just little pixels on the screen. People get upset over that. People quarrel over that. But silly, isn't it, right? So imagine you just let go of the views, how happy we can be, in other words. So this is the spirit of the early years of the Buddha's ministry. The idea of turning away from the senses, turning away from all views, to get into deep meditation. And once you're at peace, you come out of it and your mind is different. Whatever you talk is so calm and clear. People just love listening to you. And you understand, when you read the suttas, it's so clear to you. You find people talking a lot of things, but they're missing the wood for the trees, as you say. Right? So our mind becomes so calm and clear that we clearly see what's going on. So in this way, on a simple mundane level, we become very good problem solvers. Because we can see things more clearly, more directly, more quickly, more completely, and more effectively, more healingly. Of course, all this is not just for the sake of knowing. The purpose is awakening. And then you find here this, again, this idea of no views. But here the idea of no views is taken on to its highest level. The no view of no view, if you like, as far as words go. And here, for example, this famous teaching given to Bahiya, Daruchiriya, and the Udana. Udana is another of the 15 books in the Sutta Nikaya. Udana, Sutta number 10 in the first chapter, 1.10, which I call the Arahata Bahiya Sutta. There, Nirvana is defined in this way. At that time, by the way, apparently Bahiya was still a layman at that time. He was a kind of he looks like a holy man. And this is how Nirvana is defined in that sutta. Where neither water, nor earth, nor fire, nor wind finds a footing. There no stars shine, nor the sun blazes. There the moon glows not, nor is there darkness. Notice here you have a contrasting language. First of all, we have earth, water, fire and wind. These are the four elements. The four elements find no footing. Everything around you, see here, around you, are the four elements. But here, in this situation, Nirvana, there's no four elements. No stars shine, nor the stars, nor the sun blazes. There the moon glows not. No way of telling time, whether by the stars or sun or moon. So I think such a place is dark, but it's not. It's not is there darkness. So imagine, this is not an ordinary place. This is not a physical place, the kind of place we understand. It's as far as language goes, in other words. We talk about Nirvana, the end of suffering. But there's one more short verse, 2 lines. And who knows this for himself? Through sagehood, a sage of Brahmin, then from form and formless, free is he from joy and pain too. Right? So if we understand this, if we see this, we are this, then we are free from suffering. So here, the word is sagehood. That's a popular term in the first period. The sage, Muni, M-U-N-I, the silent sage. The silence that contains everything, so to speak. The silence of having known everything. Nothing more to say. And here the word Brahmin is used not in the priest sense. Brahmin meaning anyone who's wise is a Brahmin. You're not born one, but through your purity of body and speech, purity of mind, through your liberation, you are a Brahmin. You are free from something. So we see here a transcendental language, teaching which tells us of a situation, if you like, that goes beyond our conditions. Nirvana is sometimes called the unconditioned as far as language goes. So it's a very beautiful thing to know even the description of Nirvana, the possibility of Nirvana. Heaven you can only imagine, and every culture imagine the kind of things they like. So if you are in a hot country, you happen to be cool. If you are in a cold area, you happen to be warm. If you are a Red Indian, you happen to be a happy hunting grounds, and so on. So people, each culture imagine kind of heaven they want. But Nirvana, in a sense, is beyond imagination. We can try our best to use some words to describe what it is not, an apophatic language, if you like. So in other words, this is beauty. This is knowing this, that there's a way out of something. And the way to enjoy this beauty is unique truth. So truth and beauty, two very important aspects of Buddhist teachings. There's something new about this idea, because it sounds like modern literature. John Keats, beauty is truth, and truth, beauty. But if you look at the nature of Buddhism, it's always there right from the start, the nature of truth and beauty. From truth there arises beauty, and beauty is about something that is true. At least this is the Buddhist understanding of view of aesthetics, if you like, of beauty. So this truth, beauty at first appears to be a duality. By Nirvana, they merge into one, so to speak. Yeah? Or when you are meditating, you don't have to attain Nirvana to know this. When you are meditating, you attain this really wonderful state of inner peace. You don't even need to get jhana, just wonderful inner peace. For a moment you felt so peaceful, you've forgotten all about the senses, you let go of the world. Your mind is at peace. Maybe for a split second, maybe longer. Truth and beauty have merged together. Peace of mind. Okay? When you feel very calm and peaceful, we say that is beautiful. The breath becomes very peaceful, beautiful breath. It becomes so peaceful, the breath seems to stop. No more breath, because you are so calm, you are so peaceful. You don't seem to need oxygen anymore. You're at peace with yourself. For a moment, you seem to have no breath for quite a long time. And then your mind is so clear. For a moment, the truth zaps across your mind as the Dharma suddenly appears so clear to you. That's truth. So beauty is the calmness, the peace, the samatha, if you like. The truth is the insight, the vipassana, the ability to see into true reality. So there you see, even in meditation, this idea of truth and beauty are there. And when you come out of this meditation in your daily life, this truth and beauty is still with you. So you find people who have done meditation, regularly meditate, or who live mindful lives, Buddhist lives, they're full of truth and beauty. They're creative, they're happy in some way. So you see this kind of teachings, where the poems are so joyful, the teachings are telling us, clear your minds. It's all there. You find a whole list of suttas given on page 19. Take the Attaka Vagga, for example. You find the first sutta is chapter 4, the Sutta Nipata, Kama Sutta. These essential material pleasures that burden us, right? So again, we're talking about the senses. The senses burden us, so we have to let go of the senses. Second sutta, Guhataka Sutta. Guha means cave, so the body is like a cave with all its painful secrets. Then the third sutta, Duttataka Sutta, Dutta. Dutta here shows some kind of negative situation, including anger. negative states. Negative views tend to bring about quarrels. Then Sudataka, SN 4.4, Sudataka, mental purity does not come from outside, but to cultivate from within. Paramattaka Sutta, Parama means the highest, the best. Rising above disputes bring us to the highest place. When you don't quarrel people, you cultivate your mind, you're likely to go faster. Jara Sutta, all things are impermanent, even our own bodies. So you can see this idea of impermanent goes back right to the very first period, very ancient teaching. This is the key teaching to our awakening as lay people anyway. Don't forget, read up Samyutta chapter 25. You see 10 suttas there talking about impermanence and how you can attain stream winning by practicing impermanence in this life. Tissa Maitreya Sutta, the true renunciation is above all sexuality. Here is the man comes along as the Buddha about sexuality. Pasura Sutta, the wise do not quarrel about purity. So the idea is to find out, not to quarrel. Markandeya Sutta, the wise sage is free from views, even of pleasure. Right? And there are many more. Okay, other suttas you can look for yourselves. So, in a sense, we have to unlearn many things that we have learned. Many of the things we learn, many of the things we know sometimes limit us, hold us back from really understanding what is before us. But then again, learning did not hinder us. I've learned so many things in the past. I have a wide range of interests, history, literature, music, and so on. Somehow I find all these things I've learned are really useful, of service to my understanding of the Dharma and my expressing the Dharma to other people. People can connect better with the kind of language I use because they're familiar with those things I knew in the past. So there's a way of using this kind of learning. But if you kind of are stuck with those kind of learning, then it will limit you. If you judge people, you measure the world by those learning, and you think that's it, you know. That's the scientific truth or gospel truth, then you're caught with it. You're going to get blinkered and you won't be able to see the world as it is. In other words, we have to be curious about the world. We have to want to learn. Why do people do this? What's happening here? So we just have to let go, in other words. For a moment, have no views. Just be curious. What's this person trying to say? Yeah? So the SN 4.5, Paramattaka Sutta, gives us an idea of the awakened mind. This is SN 800, verse 800. Atang pahaya anupadiyano jnanepi so nisayang no karoti save viyate su na vaggosari dittim piso no pacheti kinchi. Having abandoned the grasp, he takes it up no more. Nor does he rely upon knowledge. Indeed, he stands alone, following no group. Nor does he resort to any view. Oh, this is quite tough, you know, all scholars and theologians and the politicians and people who talk about, right? No views. Having abandoned all that is trust. You know, we are like monkeys, you know, we put our hand in the coconut or it's a trap. There's a little banana in the fruit and we hold, we cling to, we don't want to let go. So there is this kind of like a fetter, you know, in our hand if we are a monkey, and it's so hard for us to run in the trees and we get caught. But here, you just need to let go of that. Your hand is free and you're free. You won't get caught. Now, the second line says, we don't need to rely on knowledge. If you want to be awakened, you want to be happy, you don't need to know what's happening in the newspapers. You don't need what's happening in other parts of the world. You just be at peace with yourself. You will be peaceful. And wherever you are, whatever is happening there, what needs to be done, you do. A lot of people have this wrong idea. They think, oh, you know, this kind of people, they have nothing to do with the world. They're not interested in the world. Not at all. Well, they're not interested in the world as you and I are interested in the world, because that is based on greed and delusion. Wherever they are, if you need help, they will help you, these people. And they'll help you in a way which is radical. Not political help, not the kind of help that missionaries give you. This open mission schools, and they say, oh, it's good to be educated, but ultimately, what they want you to absorb and convert you. But here, it's a help given to you that really heals you, brings you to levels of wisdom. That's the kind of help you get from such a mind. That's the kind of help you can give if you attain this level of mind. So here, in other words, knowledge is a very tricky thing. What is it that we know? All that we know are sense-based. We know things through our eye, our knowledge is based on the ear, to what we hear, a lot of it, to smell, taste, touch, and of course, what we think. That's all the basis of our knowledge. But how exact and how authentic, how liberating are these senses of ours? They're not. Very often we get deluded by what we see. What we see is not really it. That's why you're magicians, you're illusionists, right? We often see illusion. We often see what we want to see. All the senses work depending on the way that we want it to be. Very often that's the case, right? So it's very, very difficult to observe things as they really are. The kind of people who can do that, we are amazed at them because they're very observant. We say they're observant. To be observant means to pay attention. To pay attention means to clear away your preconceived notions. You watch what's going on, you watch. And you observe, and then you put things together and say, oh, okay, I noticed this, I see that, something like that. And also, to have the kind of attention, your mind must be focused, non-dual, all converging at one point. Here, what does duality mean? You see something, but your mind thinking something else, so you have a kind of a duality. So this is where you're not looking at the truth, or you are looking at the truth, but you're not seeing it, nothing else. So when we look deeper into life, in a sense, we should not have any views, so to speak. What does that mean? On a simple level, it means this. You see someone suffering, you may have views. You say, for example, if you are learning in the suttas, you heard a lot of talk, you say, oh, too bad, this guy is suffering, it's bad karma, what to do, right? Or, on the other hand, if you are truly compassionate, you don't bother about explaining why this person is suffering. You stretch your hand, your loving kindness goes up one notch and becomes compassion. You stretch your hands up, you do something to help this person. You don't need views about that. You help this person. Oh, then you may say, what if this guy is an enemy? What if there was a war on and they're fighting? Some of the greatest moments in wars are when soldiers stop fighting and they say, what we're fighting for? Whom are we fighting for? And the soldiers from opposite camps, they're so happy and meet together, hug each other when war is over. Well, we keep fighting other people's wars. So that's sad. Tragic, right? So this is where, when you're with people, at least momentarily, we try to have no views. Then we won't be upset. We won't be upset so easily after views something like this. I'm not saying it's easy, but this is something we can try. So you see this kind of teaching in the first part of first 10 years or first period of the Buddha's ministry, if you like. So, just to recap, so you have this first period of the Buddha's ministry. You have lots of no-view approach. If you like, you can even say they are psychological in approach, in the sense that the Buddha touches the minds and the hearts of the person before him. And then in the second period, the teachings make use of teaching models. So in a sense, the teachers, not just the Buddha, the other monks, the teachers, the monks and nuns, they were trying to, in a sense, connect with the minds and the hearts of the listener. And then from there, spiral upwards spiritually to the level of novice. Or at least, if you like, as we train ourselves as those people who were learners, who were converted learners in the sense of people who were learning, not the saints. They were interested in the Dharma, and then so they begin to lessen their views, so to speak. They become more happy, and much more clearer, or very simply they learn to be more happy. So, in other words, in the second period, number one, they tend to, or they're taught to identify the wrong views they have, and that's called the non-doing aspect, if you like. That's what Sila, Sikha, or training moral virtue is about. Not doing something, avoiding negative states. In the Dhammapada we say, Sabha Papasa Akarana, right? Non-doing, that's the first aspect of training. And then from there they go on to the doing aspect. Kusala Supasampada, the cultivating of wholesome states, wholesome mental states, especially meditation. So this is a doing aspect. So first you say no, and the second part you say yes, right? And then wisdom comes, the third stage. So this is in a sense the middle way. Okay? The middle way is training moral virtue, training in the mind, or meditation, and then training in wisdom. But what really is the middle way? Well, we don't see much of the middle way as we understand today and during the first period. So some scholars come up with the idea that why don't we see the middle way as simply a proposition, or the Dharma even as a proposition, simply a statement that the Buddha has to say something. The Buddha says something, and then you hear it, and then your life change. A proposition is not a view in a sense. Okay? Let me give some simple examples. Let's say if I tell you it's a warm day, okay? Yeah, you might think it's a view, but it's not really something you want to dispute with. Right? You just say it's a warm day, and you feel good about it, right? Or an even more interesting example, they're like instructions, you know. That's why I tell you, have a seat, right? Would you like to sit down? And you feel very tired, of course, we're happy to sit down. It's not a view. Right? But then as you go deeper into this kind of propositions, they become more real, more important. For example, someone is suffering. Someone is very worried, and then you tell this person, don't worry, you'll be okay. And just by saying, don't worry, you'll be okay, this person feels good, right? So, is a statement true or false? Don't worry. Like, we don't think of it in those terms. Because when someone tells us, don't worry, we feel good, right? So something like that, right? What's the Buddha doing this? What's the Buddha going around telling people things that help them, sentences that help them? That's one way of looking at it. It's a very interesting way of looking at it. It is very interesting and very helpful in the sense that these are not dogmas. The Buddha didn't go around saying, hey, you better believe in this, otherwise you go to hell, and that's this kind of hell you go to. On the contrary, the Buddha was very careful whenever he go around and ask people, okay, how do you feel? What's troubling you? And then the Buddha says, don't you think this is a better way of doing it? Do you think it's better to let go of this kind of ideas? What do you think? The Buddha often asks people, what do you think? And then he goes on from there. So he wants to make sure people understand what he's talking, and then from there builds up his understanding, the understanding of the audience, and then they are uplifted gradually from there. Sometimes not in the presence of the Buddha teaches them a method, and then they work on the method themselves. So there are no dogmas. Dogmas don't work. Dogma simply means listen to me, stop thinking, just believe, have faith. Here, faith means refusing to know the truth. It's rather ironic, isn't it? Have faith in the dogma, shut out everything else. To put it quite dramatically, such an approach, if it is really bad, can lead to madness, because madness is a very private reality. So if we create a very private reality, we fall into madness. And we see some of the kinds of widespread religious action that we see, especially violence and hatred. It just shows that these are rooted in a very narrow way of looking at things. It maddens us. It dehumanizes us. It makes us forget we are of better stuff. We are capable of compassion and more and greater generosity. We forget the Dharma then. So dogmas are not helpful at all. So this is where, yes, it is helpful to think of the Buddha's words and teachings as propositions, but when we talk about views, they're not always propositions. They are simply, how should I put it? One way is joy put into words, if you like. If you like to call it a proposition, fine. But you don't need to really call them anything. But you can feel this joy being spoken. Or sometimes you don't need the words. You will see someone at peace, like Sariputta, seeing Assaji so peaceful. He had once felt that peace, and he approaches the teacher, asks questions. So there, the Assaji did not say anything at first, but Sariputta notices the language of peace. The language here is not words. It's maybe we can say a sign of peace, if you like. But I call it language because Sariputta could read this. He could recognize this peace in Assaji. Other people probably might not notice this. I mean, a modern urban person might not bother if he saw Assaji in town. He might thought, oh, just another man who would never look at people in the eye, you know, right? So they will recognize the sanctity, the wisdom in this great saint, or in anyone for that matter, because they are so self-absorbed. So they are limiting themselves. That is why we got to get out of ourselves, so to speak. In a sense, we got to renounce ourselves, right? And when we meditate, we're doing that. We're renouncing the self that is made to the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And we're truly at peace. And these views that we have, you can look at them in terms of two extremes. One extreme is that there is something that can last forever, eternalism. Yes, our body is impermanent, our thoughts are impermanent, our life is impermanent, but there is something permanent, they thought, some of these people. These are the eternalists. So maybe it's a soul or the God. So don't worry, the body is impermanent, but something permanent there. This is a wrong idea, because there's no such thing as something that is eternal and it can exist. Whatever exists must exist in time. Whatever exists, therefore, necessarily is impermanent. Then the other extreme is to think that, okay, this is our only life, right? And when our life ends, that's it, nothing more, empty, zero, so we don't have anything to worry about. These are the materialists, right? This is a kind of extreme idea. It's called annihilationism. Annihilationism. Uchedaditi. The other one is called Sasatavada, eternalism, Sasatavada. So the annihilationists, for example, they might have some idea that the soul and the body are the same. So when the person dies, the soul also dies. It's a stroke. So these are only life. A lot of intelligent people have this kind of worldview. But this can be problematic because we might think that, okay, this is our only life, so I should enjoy life as much as I can. Live today, tomorrow we die, so who cares? Do what you like, but don't get caught, that kind of idea. Well, we do get caught, we do get into trouble. So this is where, although we can't really prove karma and rebirth, there are definitely better ideas than God and the devil or even the idea of hell. Because if we believe in this idea of karma and rebirth, at least we are restraining ourselves from doing actions which will get us into trouble in this life itself. For example, we say, yeah, nobody is seeing me doing this bad stuff, but then I know I've done this bad stuff, right? The Buddha says, you may think no one knows, but I know that when I see you, I will know that you have done something bad. In other words, you know it for yourself, you've done something bad. And it's going to trouble you later on. It's going to limit your ability to be good. So you've got to be honest to yourself. So karma helps us to hold the horses, so to speak, not to run headlong into doing something evil. We think twice about it. We know our actions have results. We're accountable for our actions. That's what karma is about. Rebirth is not so easy to explain. Well, we can say that somehow we have some connection with other people. Human beings are such that we evolve through millions of years, and we have this kind of, we go through some kind of change. And then you see plants, they grow, they flower, they have seeds, and then they die. And then the seeds grow again into another plant. So about human beings, we also grow from seeds, from human eggs. And perhaps we have been here before. Perhaps we are connected somehow to other people. Right? It's a useful idea. I can't prove this idea, so you have to think about it, how useful it is to you, and try to look at it that way. Oh, that's an easy way out, in Buddhism, no dogmas, right? So we can talk of provisional teaching. These are all provisional teachings. In fact, whatever we learn from the Dharma, they are all provisional. Whatever we know are all provisional. Meaning, we will change our opinions about these things. We have been doing that, like it or not, we have been doing that. I mean, look over the past. How often we have changed our views of things. When you were 3 years old, you were afraid of the dark. Then when you were 10 years old, you laugh at yourself. You have changed your views about the dark. And something happened when you were teenagers. The first date never went right. You thought the world has ended. And if you're a guy, you think all women are rotten or bad, because your first date failed. And then after that, you got married, and you look back and say, oh, okay, you love it. That silly idea of failing the first date. So it goes on like that, We keep changing our opinions, even about ourselves. We have to remember this. We keep forgetting this. We think that the idea we have right now is the final state of things. This is the right view. Everything else is wrong. And very soon we'll change our opinion about the very idea that we have right now. I've opinions about Buddhism so many times over the last 40 years. So I'm 64 at this time of recording. So I became a Buddhist quite early, kind of even in primary school. But really seriously studying Buddhism around kind of mid-secondary school. And I must say I've been changing my ideas of Buddhism again and again, all for the better. Need to understand better and better what's going on in the sutras, what the sutras trying to teach us. And it's good to be able to evolve in this way. Letting go of opinions, having clearer view of things, putting the bits and pieces together, having a clearer, more complete picture of the Dharma of life itself. It's a wonderful thing to experience. It's a great freedom that we can have. It makes us truly happy. So to keep things simple, we can say, yes, we have wrong views. We have to understand wrong views for what they are, and then work hard to find out what's the right version of it, right view. Okay, so this is where right view corrects wrong view. So this is kind of like the second stage of learning, so to speak. So right view, in other words, is the rejection of wrong views in a sense, because if you cling on to wrong views, you're stuck there with a weight, with a fetter, so you won't be able to move freely. But here again, we're thinking of views purely as something we think about, right? One must remember, although views are things we think about, they're also how we view the world, how we view ourselves, how we look at things. And how we look at things also affect how we behave. So if we have a certain fixed idea about things, our behavior also tend to be fixed. So here you have a very important hint here. Our conduct. How does our conduct reflect our views? So if our views are negative, our conduct tend to be negative, selfish, and ultimately unhappy. We won't feel happy unless we have someone to knock down, for example, with your views. We're not happy to learn if someone comes up with a great idea, we say, oh, we just poo-poo it away. Yeah? Whereas if you are open and happy and you're really eager to learn, you say, hey, what's that? I want to learn. And you have this fantastic joy of learning. So in other words, when you have right view, your body and mind are affected in a positive way. You change in your conduct becomes better and happier, in other words. And when we meet people, we also change them. And this kind of beautiful principle can be used in counseling, in helping others, people helping, social work, and so on. And when you deal with all people, you try to bring this happiness to them. In fact, you see this kind of process when you meditate. Right? Take, for example, the famous Pamuja formula, which talks about what happens in meditation. This is on page 23, in the middle. See, in the Pamuja formula, it is found in many places. So, for example, here is found in S42, many places, and SD 65.1. Reflecting on a wholesome action. Okay, when we reflect on a wholesome action, for example, we do some simple meditation like reflecting on the qualities of the three jewels or loving kindness, and we feel a gladness arises, pamuja, gladness. Eh? For one who is gladdened, zest arises. For one whose mind is zestful, his body is tranquil, made still. One whose body is tranquil experiences happiness. Think of it as comfort, if you like. The mind of one who is happy attains samadhi, becomes concentrated. So you see a very interesting formula here. Gladness, zest, tranquility, happiness, samadhi. Now if you learn meditation with me, you will always hear somewhere in the meditation hours, early stage I would say, smile in your heart, smile in your heart. Because that makes you happy, makes us happy. If you want your meditation to progress, you have to learn to be happy. Happiness is a choice you must make. It's as simple as just learning to smile at yourself. If you find you can't smile at people, just smile at yourself in a quiet place. And you feel it when you smile. How do you feel? And then you go into your meditation. You find your meditation becomes easier when you're happy with yourself. So this is what the Pamuja formula is trying to tell us. Of course, it's much more than that. It helps us to be happy and to be able to meditate better, attain samadhi, concentration, and if you go further, you attain jnana. So, in a sense, if you like, you can call this the middle way, because the middle way avoids extremes of views, of eternalism, of annihilationism. The middle way rejects the way of the senses and keeps the middle way of the mind. So in other words, the middle way is the path that we walk towards awakening. We're at peace with ourselves. In the middle way, it's like a highway, very safe highway. It's right in the middle of nowhere, right? And we stay there. And that highway is the peaceful mind. And the middle way, at this level, we can say, is to be able, willing and able to let go of views. That's one way we can talk of meditation. We let go of views, right? You will notice that this is usually spoken of in the second stage of meditation when we talk about, we have said quietly, let go of the body, now we deal with the mind, right? So you find what troubles you at that stage are thoughts, lots of thoughts coming in. Again, as something as simple as smiling at those thoughts, not fighting them, and not following them, helps you to clear your mind. So that's the middle way, dealing with your distracting thoughts. Because what is really holding us back, preventing us from becoming focused and happy is meditation, craving and views. Craving is the feeling of lack, right? I don't have this, so I want this, so you go around looking for it, and when you get it, or this thing, you found it, you hold on to it, you cling, right? So craving, clinging. And then why do you do this? Because you have this view, this view that I lack something, and how did you get the idea that you lack something? No, you are comparing yourself with someone else. That's called conceit, mana, measuring, right? So it works in that way. So, when we meditate, one of the first things we need to do is we need to end craving. And to end craving, you let go of views, right? Or at least suspend views for a while. Then craving also gets suspended for a while, so to speak. Or, to put very simply, don't think about it for a moment. Just meditate. In meditation, you can't wish for anything. Meditation is the real act of renunciation. It's letting go. We close our eyes because we let go of seeing. We let go of sound. We let go of smell, taste, touches. And that's how we let go of craving initially. And even at that moment, as you let go of all those things, you feel at peace with yourself. You may not know it at that time because, in a sense, you have stopped thinking. When you come out of your meditation, during the review period, you look back and say, oh yeah, I was very peaceful a while ago. And you know you are really enjoying it, right? It's just like you are playing a game. You can't be telling yourself all the time, I'm playing football, I'm playing football. You just play the game. You focus on the game. And then at the end of it, when the game is over, you look back and say, yeah, okay, I gave a good kick. Okay, that kick was good. Okay, this action I did was not good, right? But while you are playing, you just play. You can't be thinking too much. You are part of a team, so to speak, in this case. Right? So here, once you begin to understand how views work and how you can let go of them, then you also overcome suffering. You keep to the middle of the middle way, so to speak. What is the middle of the middle way? Here is where we don't have views of duality. Something exists, something doesn't exist. Right? This is very common, especially mentioned in the Madhupindika Sutta. This is the basis of many problems that we have. We think of existing, non-existing, and we apply it to past, present, future. We have a series of problems. Did I do this? Did I not do this? Will I become this? Will I not become this? What will I be? What will I not be? Right? Take a simple case. I have wonderful friends who have just graduated. All the things they like to tell me, to tell me, oh, I'm not sure what kind of job I'll get, whether I'll be happy with this job that I'm getting or not, right? Will I get a job? Will I not get a job? Will I be happy? Will I not be happy? I say, look, you got to accept facts. When it comes to jobs, the very first job, you got to tell yourself, maybe you don't have much choice then. You just got to accept the job that comes to you, and you feel that there's not much to object to. It might not be the perfect job, the dream job that you want, but it's a good start. I mean, nobody stays with a job for life, unless they really love it, or they own the company. But then you find that you work as far as you can, and then you make friends, you get experience, and you get this wonderful letter of recommendation when you leave the company, and you build yourself up from there. So you don't have to think of, exist or non-existence in this case. Accept things as they come, in other words. So here is where you see that's how a monk or a nun, a true monastic would live. They try not to make plans. And then when you go up to them, you find they're very accessible people. And the great saints were like that. They had no views. They are spiritually mature. They just live their life day to day, and they are happy in that sense. And we can do that too if we want, if we like. So here again, we will come to the end of this talk already. So we have right view and no views. And the no views, if you like, is the teaching of the first period. The right view is what the Buddha is trying, the monks and the Buddha is trying to promote in the second period. And you find that they're actually parallel methods. They're not separate methods. They're not exactly two different periods. You might say there's overlapping. Even within the first period, maybe the Buddha could have used some second period methods. And during the second period, there are people who are so spiritually mature that the Buddha could convert them with the no-view approach, right? So you must give all this kind of allowance. So when we talk about religious training, Buddhist training in this way, we're not so much talking about knowing things. Rather, we're talking about knowing how to, not knowing what, but knowing how to. Knowing how to be free of views, for example. Knowing how to feel happy, knowing how to feel liberated. And not just knowing, ultimately feeling you are it, right? You don't have knowledge. If you have, that means it's not really yours. But you are that knowledge. It is reflected in your body and speech also. So right view is not just a way of thinking. It is not just a view, but it is an attitude. Our whole life must change accordingly. That is why the Dharma, the Buddha reminds us to respect the Dharma, treat it like a water snake. When someone wants to catch a water snake, he seizes by the neck to be safe, so the snake won't sting him. Because if it holds it the wrong way, by the tail, for example, the snake will sting him. Now, this is not that the Dharma will harm us or destroy us. It's that when we misunderstand the Dharma, it is our misunderstanding that will hurt us. So don't blame Buddhism. Buddhism, in a sense, doesn't do anything for us. We, to understanding Buddhism, change ourselves. So, wrong views hurt, right views heal, and we go from there. It depends on how we look at all these teachings that we have received. And when we see something, we see value in it. In other words, we say, wow, this can help us in this way. And then we see truth in something else. In other words, we say, oh, now I understand. So you have value, you have truth. And this is something we're going to talk about the next time. So tonight we'll end here. So let us close this session, a short reflection. The Buddha is reminding us how to be at peace with ourselves, how to sit peacefully, how to clear our minds, how to see within ourselves the peace that is there. In a sense, the peace is always there. The loving kindness is always there. And when we do that, we have both truth and beauty within us. We feel joyful and peaceful, and we are creative. It's a wonderful way to live. With the power of such happy thoughts, may our minds be focused and be at peace and joyful whenever we meditate and in our daily lives, in this life itself. Through all these good deeds, the various good deeds we have done, May we attain spiritual liberation, especially streaming in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all those who have taught us the Dharma, to all those who have been kind to us. Let us also direct our loving kindness to our loved ones, to our relatives and friends, even to those who are inimical to us, that they may come closer to the Dharma, that they will become happy when they touch the Dharma, and so be our friends. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.